Hello, champions. Welcome.
All right, you're doing the intro now.
All right, you're fucking done.
Hello, champions, and welcome back to What's My Role, episode 29. We're a group of adventurers exploring the many realms of World of Warcraft and MMOs, sharing our experiences, learning our roles together, and embracing the chaos. I'm your Tank Bean, joined today by GT Goat.
Hello.
Donnix.
Hey.
And Golden.
Howdy.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Dragonflight Dungeons. Okay.
I just want to know where was the father and all that.
Well, absent fathers, man, that's the problem.
I think they eat the dads, right? In the insect world. What'd you think of that, Goat? I'm sure that was riveting for you.
Yes, since, I'm all into the lore, like heavy, deep lore, and that was like really heavy.
No, it's mostly above my head at this point, really, because I don't know any of this stuff either.
I mean, this is basically new lore. It's not, you don't really need to know too much of the past stuff other than the Xalatath stuff.
Yeah. So we know that Xalatath is a harbinger of Dimensius, which is an old god that has apparently tried to break into Azeroth before, but hasn't.
Old
or
god
was
or
it
a
on...
Void Lord?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I think he's a Void Lord.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
So this is like, if it's a Void Lord, that's like by far the biggest, baddest thing that it could possibly be.
Find that out.
Well, because the big bad in Warcraft, I guess besides the Void Lords, was Sargeras and his Burning Legion. And his whole deal is that he wants to destroy all life to avoid it being corrupted by the Void Lords. We've got top men on it.
I'm
researching.
trying to look. Don't want to sound stupid.
The only way I know how to sound.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I got all the stupid for all of us. You're good.
They exist on another plane, actively seeking a way to fully cross into the material plane.
Mm-hmm.
They were sent out by the old gods.
Well, the Void Lords created the old gods because they haven't had a way to come into this plane of existence, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was just reading.
Yeah, so Dimensius is a Void Lord.
He is a Void Lord. Okay.
Yep.
So this is bad news.
She's been around for a long time. She's been around for a very long time, and I guess through being confined within the dagger as well, right? Like she kind of she's like pulled strings and manipulated her way throughout history in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Defeated by players in Burning Crusade.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird callback to a mob in Burning Crusade that was kind of, I don't even think it was like a boss in a dungeon. I think.
Okay, so she freed herself from the dagger because she made a pact with N'Zoth?
Yeah, so N'Zoth freed her from the dagger.
Gotcha. N'Zoth was an old god, right?
Yeah.
The only bit we've seen of Dimensius before was, like you said, it was like a mob back in, I want to say BC. Yeah.
In Netherstorm.
Apparently it was only like just like a shadow of a fraction of Dimensius's power that the players fight against in BC. And so I guess she has... Well, it's weird because the Nerubians were like creations of the old gods. So I guess it makes sense that Xalatath would try and connect with the Nerubian Empire.
I'm hoping that we get more... I'm not a big lore buff, right? But I do hope we find out more of how she got into the dagger, right? Because that part still kind of like...
It's not like super well known.
Has it been... Yeah. So I'm hoping that kind of gets brought up. I'm sure it will throughout the expansion or at some point.
Queen Neltharus was tempted by Xalatath to bring prosperity to her starving empire. And I guess in making that pact and killing her mother, she's kind of corrupted her entire empire. So that's kind of... The Nerubians aren't the big bad of the expansion, but they are going to be, I guess, probably the army that Xal'atath will be using that we'll fight against. So I'm sure that the first raid, I'm pretty sure it is confirmed that she's kind of the final boss of the whole first raid. That's like the Nerebar Palace. I don't know.
So, do you, in your opinion, do you think that means they're going to introduce? I'm assuming another big baddie, obviously, because I doubt there's going to be just one raid, right? So
yeah,
they're gonna have to incorporate other people from the lore into it. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, because it's just like Dragonflight's got those 3 raids, right? And Raszageth was kind of introduced as the big bad when Dragonflight came out. And then once you beat her in that raid, there's a whole other raid where Sarkareth is the boss of the second raid. And then it the story kind of moves on and you get new fights, new bosses as the story continues. So I'm suspecting, I don't know how many raids there's supposed to be. If there is 3, then I would expect Xal'atath to be the final boss of the third raid, maybe.
Okay.
I guess it depends on how far she's going to run the story going into the other 2 expansions of the saga.
Yeah. Well, I kind of suspect that we will defeat her, but it will be kind of like a too late situation. And that will kind of create the second of the World Soul trilogy, I guess. The second will kind of be like the Empire Strikes Back. It's called Midnight, right? So I think it's going to be like the whole we're losing expansion. Shit is not going right.
Yeah.
Well, and we should be seeing Iridikron show up at some point as well, and he could be another raid boss.
Yeah, maybe he'll be like the second raid boss. I actually do wonder how he's going to tie in, because like that whole deal in the Dawn of the Infinite dungeon where he gets the, like, what were they calling it, like the heart. So he has that thing that I don't know how he's going to be using that,
Yeah. 100%. Like, for realsies.
Thank you for your contributions.
Well, you said I need to talk more.
You do need to talk more. Fucker. But to talk more, you got to play more. I think you've only played like 1 time in like the last month, bro.
No, I played more than that. I played like 3 times.
3 times.
Oh, our apologies.
Okay. Well, we do need to start this Goat's Notes thing. I don't think you're ready, right?
Yeah, not 100%. It's more like just, I don't know, whatever's seemed to be bothering us. Just more of like a little bitch fest, I guess it would be.
Well, I don't want it to always be negative.
Well, it doesn't have to.
I'll just complain once a week.
It's more like, hey, guess what they're doing?
The children
they're adding another
crave
expansion.
negative.
Can't fucking wait to spend another $60 on shit I've been playing for years.
You're not going to have to do that for like 2 years.
I know. I'm
hypocrisy.
messing around. Okay.
What was the new segment that Peter did in Family Guy?
Grind my gears.
Yeah.
Grind
you know what really
gears.
grinds my gears? I'm sorry, I didn't speaking to the camera.
Yeah, you gotta do that for Mr. E.
Yeah, he does
He
not
loves it
like
when
that
you
shit.
stare deeply
Just
into
stare
the
deep
soul.
into the camera and explain something right to your face. He does not like that.
I forgot. We have 100 subscribers, guys.
Whoa,
Triple
when did that
digits.
happen?
So yeah, we're doing pretty well.
We're
100
making
subscribers.
moves.
That's more than 99. So
Right. Math.
We'll call this our 100 subscriber special. There's nothing special about it though. It's I don't know. I feel like 100 is too small to do a special for.
I mean, a win's a win.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy for sure. We do have some more videos.
We bought us all virtual beers. Thank you, Bane.
Cheers.
The other 2 have margaritas. You just can't see them.
Okay, so
They're
something we
bitches.
talked about last week. Well, actually, let's just talk about Golden's back, first of all.
Yeah. Howdy.
So you've been gone for a minute, and it's really good to have you back.
Thank you. Yeah. So I jumped on like once in the last month, and definitely a lot of changes. Was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of activities over the summer, so I haven't been on, but and so I really haven't been keeping up with the WoW news either. And so jumping on and kind of seeing that we're already seeing changes with the new expansion coming, already being implemented,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to these hero talents, or like basically how they're going to be, some abilities have been taken away from certain classes, some abilities have been added. um I haven't even honestly been able to go through all of it yet for my Mistweaver. I know that there's some abilities that appear to have gone passive, and so now there's a chance that they get procced versus triggered abilities, or basically active abilities that I would normally do. So there's going to be another bit of a learning curve, but I'm kind of excited for that. I'm curious to see how that will affect my overall rotation, and maybe it'll be more fun, maybe it won't, but I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Like with the pre-patch, everybody's class kind of had a pretty big change. And then even since you played like Warbands is here too now, and that was like I
Yeah,
remember hearing
yeah,
you got to the login screen and you hadn't even seen that yet. So
yeah. Yeah, that was actually really cool to see, and since I wasn't expecting it, yeah, man, like I'm super excited for the expansion. I'm super excited for if we can get some time in and push some mythics here at the end of the season, and then obviously looking forward to that as well, and raids coming in the new expansion.
oh yeah.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun for us. So
Yeah, I'm excited to get into the new season, new dungeons. We're gonna have delves too. So there's something that we kind of have that we can work on even with a smaller group or even solo. That'll be like something that we can do to get our characters up, even without relying on all, at least five of us being there, right?
right, right,
Oh, I guess we could talk about you're going to. Are we going to announce that you're going to kind of take over the podcast? Is that what we're going to do?
yeah, yeah, man. So yeah, officially, I'm going to take over the podcast. Being here is going to kind of give me the rundown on how he's doing the video edits and how he's incorporating all the different sounds and different audio that he adds. And I've been really, really digging into the audio for the podcast and learning. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm getting a lot better at mixing and mastering for the podcast, and I'm really enjoying it. And since I know Bean wants to be able to provide more variety in the content, and maybe another, more focus on stuff that's in game, not just our discussions. And we both kind of were talking about it. And, I'm sure we all want to have both. The podcast gets everybody in our group involved. So pursuing that and keep working on that every week, and getting better with processing and mixing the audio for our content. I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. And it's really nice because I was getting ready to announce on this podcast that, okay, we're going to start doing podcasts once every other week. And it's just because with War Within coming out, I really wanted to put more time into, all the new stuff that's coming out. I want to be able to make videos kind of based around that kind of newer, more exciting things, because that's really what's going to help the channel grow. Even with just that tips for new and returning players video has by far been our most successful video that we put
Mhm.
out, and it's almost, I mean, it basically has doubled our subscribers, and we've gotten a lot of views and comments and likes on that compared to anything else we've done. So I really kind of want to dig into more of that content that will provide value to the viewers. And, hopefully that'll get us, more eyes on the channel. And
Yeah.
then if people enjoy the value content that we're providing, hopefully they'll enjoy a little bit more of this kind of content where we're just talking and
Absolutely,
bullshit.
man. I wasn't in the last podcast, but obviously I did the audio for it, and um, hearing you relay the comments that, or a comment that someone left saying they appreciate another podcast coming out, and I was really thinking about that. I was like, man, maybe for some people that's kind of just what they come for.
Yeah.
So if it's something that they want to hear, like I'm more than happy to continue it, and I really like the group involvement on here as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's really cool that we do kind of have, even if it's a small group, we do kind of have a group of people that watch us and interact with us and kind of have almost from the start. And it's really cool to have that continued interaction. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm super excited that you were like excited yourself to kind of do this and take it over, and then, spread the work around so we can get a little bit more done together, hint, hint.
you're
No, I'm not going to put pressure on anybody. Obviously, I love
Lies.
that. But I understand that we are all very busy people. So whatever anyone is willing to take on, I'm 100% supportive of and willing to help teach. So that's probably what we'll be doing after this is over. Is I think I'll, if you have time, that is, I'll jump on there and try and show you a little bit
Absolutely.
of that process. So yeah, so I'm working on an add-ons video, and hopefully that will kind of capitalize on that the newer audience and YouTube algorithm to kind of continue to promote our stuff. Okay, so let's pull up this list here. So how many Dragonflight Dungeons are there's the Mega Dungeon, Dawn of the Infinite. There's Azure Vault, Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Neltharus, Algathar Academy, Ruby Life Pools, No Coup Defensive, and Uldaman.
Are you wanting to cover like what we liked, what we didn't like?
Yeah,
or,
we can kind of like talk a little bit about each dungeon. We don't have to like, I mean, everyone's been playing these dungeons
Right.
for a couple of years now, so I don't think we need to explain much about them.
Well, you
I'll
already know
share
which
in the
one I
chat
hate.
this list here. I
Two
want to
I
hear
hate.
all about what you hate.
You sharing that?
Ooh, when Goat has something to talk about he doesn't like, and we have also like that's Goat's gruff.
Yeah.
Scrap.
Goat scruff, and then goat's notes can be not necessarily positive or negative.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be, what's on our general minds that I'm not afraid to say.
Let's talk about a little bit about each dungeon, and then we'll kind of, I guess we can just say what our favorites are after that. Okay, so Dawn of the Infinite was the mega dungeon, and we got to play this one quite a bit. So when we first kind of got back into the game in season 3, both halves of this dungeon were featured in that season's dungeon pool. Which half is the first half? I could never remember. So the first half ends with Iridicron, and the second half
Iridicron's Fall
ends with Chronoloord Dios. The first one I played was the first half that ends with Iridicron, and I played that one a bunch before I ever even tried the second half for some reason.
Yeah.
So
that's the one with Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was about to just ask, what everyone wants to say about it.
Oh, I was gonna say that's the one where you're with Chromie, right?
Yeah.
And you got to get in the bubble.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I really like that dungeon, man. I knew at first that was kind of a difficult thing, but then again, we kind of just got into doing Mythic Plus. So I really, really enjoyed. I felt like it was a really good mix of coordination to complete the mechanics to get through.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only really kind of little spot that I felt was a little chaotic was when you're fighting Chromie's doppelganger, basically. What was her name? Morchi.
That is in the second half.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
That's in the second
half.
My bad. So I don't have any complaints for the first half. My only gripe in the second half was with Morchi, where basically she creates like a time double of you, and you've got to get around the swirls. And that can get super chaotic because everybody, or like you might be competing or heading for a swirl that another person's going for. So it kind of like trips you up. So I feel like that's the only one part that kind of requires more coordination. But overall, I think both dungeons are a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think I actually, I played both of these dungeons a decent bit as both a DPS and a tank. Because when we first kind of started back into it, I wasn't tanking yet. I was playing the fucking rogue. And that did take a while to get used to. But I do remember one night, me and you, Golden, were trying to do this dungeon. And we completely ruined somebody's
Oh, yeah, we trapped it.
It was bad. And it was 100% you and my fault because we kept fucking up the Iridicron fight where, you have to do certain things. And it's not hard to do when you know what you're supposed to do. But we had just kind of gotten back into the game. And I did feel really bad about that. It was only like a +2, I want to say, but
it was a low key. We weren't trying to jump into something too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember that you always feel really bad too when that happens. But I mean, we got value out of it.
Yeah, it was a learning experience, if nothing else. I enjoyed that dungeon. Chronicar, Manifested Timeways, Blight of Galakron, all pretty fun fights with their own little mechanics that you do have to pay attention to.
And they're kind of unique within themselves. Like A lot of times with these dungeons, you'll have like a reoccurring mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, in like the older ones. The newer ones, it seems like they really try to make every boss fight in a dungeon feel different. Like they're not
Good point.
tank and spanks. There's specific mechanics that don't repeat.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like each one of those 4 is pretty different. The thing that always happens when you're doing these dungeons too is that at the lower levels you breeze through it and you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Then you'll like find a couple little mechanics that start giving you trouble, and then you fucking like smack into a wall where it's like, what are we doing? Where you're finding out there's mechanics to the fight that you never realized were there in the first place, but you actually have to know them to continue climbing. And the first time we played the second half of that dungeon, we did get smacked really bad by Tyr.
Yeah,
man.
until we figured out what the hell was going on.
It's almost hilarious when you kind of look at the stuff that we struggled on early on.
Yeah.
And like now when I look back on those things, I'm like, how the hell did we not, you know what I mean? But it all just takes time. So
Yeah. I want to say here, sometimes Morchi, Iridicron, and maybe, well, I don't know. We did have some trouble with Chronicar and Manifested Timeways a couple times.
yes, we did, because of the you have to do that absorb,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to avoid when he jumps. You've got to avoid that area of effect.
Mm-hmm.
And someone's immediately, because as soon as he lands, orbs get shot in every direction, so you got to get ready to dodge that. And then someone's got to be positioned to soak up that damage on that orb.
Oh, yeah.
That sand orb.
Okay, Goat, what did you think of this dungeon? I think this is the first one that you played.
That was the very first one I played. Quite hectic for me because you have to fly through portals and then have to understand that don't stand in the gold stuff. I mean, it was
Yeah.
very traumatic for me. Thanks for that damage. Morchi was the other one. I mean, I really can't complain about it, to be honest. It was just confusing having to go through portals to go to different places, and then you can go 2 ways on this one. Don't tell me
Yeah.
that. Don't tell me that. Just take me where I need to go.
A little crossroads.
Yeah.
We probably
I
should make mention of the little gauntlet that you have to run through.
Oh yeah. I never made it all the way through there. So
I was
Not
gonna say that
once?
was the only. Not once.
I don't think
at
so.
all.
My God.
Yeah. I was gonna say that was the big reason why I didn't like the second half. That stupid run, especially when you're doing mythics. That's ridiculous.
But yeah, that part can for sure be a time waster. I'm pretty sure we did not time a key specifically because of that one time.
I think I suppressed my memories of that, and that's why I forgot to mention it.
I was wondering why we've been talking this long and hadn't mentioned it yet.
Everyone's traumatized. I want to say my favorite boss out of all of them is Iridicron, but it's close because I also really like fighting the Manifested Timeways because of the whole like spinning and the different time zones thing. I thought that was a really cool mechanic. But the Iridicron fight is cool just because of how much coordination the team needs.
It'd be a Ridicron for me as well. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
like
I think so.
when we did that boss perfect, it was almost like a dance. Like, and everybody kind of figured it out as we went and got into their positions and knew what to do. And
Yeah.
but those first few runs were just, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, well, it's a huge learning experience. And then you're right. It was super cool. Like how everybody would kind of be yelling out what we're supposed to be doing at any given moment.
I think it's because, when you're just cruising through content, how familiar you are with like all your utilities, not that big of a deal. But when you start doing Mythic Plus, and obviously when you're doing higher end content rating, knowing where you what utility you have up, what's on cooldown, finding the button quickly, knowing all those things.
Yeah.
And getting familiar, what's going to make me run faster, what's going to make me take less damage, what's going to and in all those things, and specific to their role as well. I think that it was a challenge on top of the challenge.
Oh yeah, because we were relearning the game and having to be coordinated for that fight. You got a favorite boss in there before we go on to the next one? Go.
Democron. Yeah, that one.
Veridicron?
Sure.
Veridicron.
I don't remember.
To be honest,
cool
I
it on
was
them
so
Coors Lights.
confused. No, I was so confused in those that it was just survival at that point. Because most of the time I'm just screaming like fuck in my head because I'm trying to figure it out. And there's a few of these I'm not sure if I even played.
Okay, well, we're about to start talking Azure Vault. I know you played this with us once because I made a short where we were all joking around in it.
Yeah, I think I've played this twice.
I feel like this is the one that I played the least out of all the dungeons from this season 4. Well, from just the Dragonflight Dungeons, I guess. Even to the point where like I don't even remember that the boss's names.
Yeah, this one was a little bit of a struggle for us because there's so much chaotic shit in it when it comes to the trash mobs.
Yeah, if you wake up the little screaming whelps that will kind of wake up the, I don't know, calcified enemies. I don't know how they're frozen or whatever, but that part was pretty rough.
It was brutal, man. Yeah. I have a favorite boss in that though, which is is it Lemur or Laymore?
That's the like tree dude, yeah.
The tree. Yeah. Yes. I really, really loved how they set that fight up. I really like the idea of the tank using the frontal cone to take down as many as they can, and then the rest of the team splitting up and divide and conquer to knock out the rest of the trees to avoid taking huge damage. I thought it was designed really well. I enjoyed it.
Yes, it was cool, like having to worry about positioning him in such a way that he's going to destroy as many of these trees as possible without also obliterating whichever DPS is not paying attention at any given moment. So that was fun because normally it's just like face the boss away. So it was nice to be able to have to focus on that extra aspect to it.
And the visuals for the fight were really cool too with the trees. They did really cool kind of animations and visuals for that fight.
And then we would also have to like spread out when those big circles would pop to get rid of the rest of the trees. So it was also other people's responsibility as well. Azure Blade, that one was pretty tough for us, dude. Right? I feel like that was the hardest one.
Yeah, because of the draconic image.
So
you had to get on it really quick.
Yep, and you'd have to kill that fast before it kills a DPS, and then you get to that phase where she's shooting out those like bubble beams or whatever they are.
Yeah, ancient orb right after you kill the draconic image. Yeah, it would just shoot out in your direction. So you had to be, you can't get too hyper focused on taking out the image because you're about to get shot in the back.
Yeah, if you get hit by that thing, it hurts a lot. I did have to end up soloing that boss a couple times, I remember. Talash Greywing, I don't think we ever had a problem fighting that boss. At any level we did it.
No, we did not. And you know what? It was fun too. It was still fun. I liked the idea. That's the one where the orbs are the pools of ice were on the ground, right? You had to go around the ring.
Yeah, you go around the ring. You're placing the ice on the edges, and then you want to be near the, like, if there were glyphs or runes or something, you'd have to run to that for the bubble to survive that attack. And it's just rinse and repeat over and over.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
And then Umbral Skull was probably the second hardest boss. Not really hard. It's more about those little crystals that get put down. You have to get rid of those things ASAP or people are going to start dying. I think you're right, though. Laymore's probably the coolest boss fight from that dungeon. I really liked how it looked, but like I said, it's the one I played the least. Anybody else got a favorite boss? I mean, I know you liked Laymore Golden.
The same for me.
Yeah? What about you, Goat?
Yeah.
You better not say same.
I didn't. I said, yeah.
Why?
She said,
why, though?
What did you think of that dungeon? Did you play that? Yes, you did. Like I said before, you played in this dungeon. So
I know that I played it at least twice.
But what was your overall thoughts on it?
Fuck. I didn't play it enough to really be able to just kind of, okay, we got to do this now. It was more just react. Then listen to whoever the hell is yelling at me. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah. I don't think you ever played this one for a higher key. I don't think.
No, Because like I said, all this is when I first got into it, so it's all just pain. Well, we're about to talk about the next one, but the next one I've more experienced on.
Brackenhide Hollow.
Yeah.
All right, tell us all about it. You want to break it
I'm-
down?
You already
No?
know I'm not going to be able to give you names. Okay.
Well,
I did like-
they're listed there. You just got to read the names.
Well, if I go back to that, yeah, I don't want to go back to that.
Okay, what did everybody think of Brackenhide Hollow?
That one I enjoyed.
I liked it.
Yeah, because it's more of like
Yeah.
a selective pool of the enemies in order to make your path instead of just
Okay.
run through it and kill everything that's in your way.
Just like
I get what
with
you mean.
the mega dungeon, all these bosses do feel pretty different, and there's a good variety in the fights that you're doing.
I think Treemouth was a cool fight, and I liked Gutshot with the hyena.
Yeah, and the
hybrid
traps.
basically
Yeah.
coming out. Yeah, the traps. I thought those were both really good.
Mm-hmm. Hatclaw's Warband was, if you don't do it right, it gets very bad.
Oh, it'll screw you up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll mess you up bad.
and it's because like each member of the warband kind of has something a little bit tricky that they do, and I know that it was mainly, I don't know which one it was. I want to say it was Gashtooth. Is that the one that was putting? There'd be the arrow, and then I have to get between the arrow and whoever she's targeting. And
Yeah, marked for butchery.
yeah,
that one.
and then I think I would
Yeah.
get like, not discombobulated. What's the term for that debuff where I can't do
Disoriented.
anything? Yeah, I'd get disoriented for like a billion years, and it has to be cleansed.
Yeah, that's Hex Trick. That was the Hex Trick totem.
Oh, that's from the totem, trick totem. Damn.
Yeah.
So that fight's chaotic. Freemouth, I like that fight. I always like a fight where the tank has to soak and get like swallowed. For some reason, I don't know.
Well, it kind of like highlights your role, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're playing high enough, the tank might not be able to take multiple ones because it will have like kind of a stacking debuff. So it's sometimes worth it for somebody else to kind of try and survive through that so that I can get the third one. And then I also, the DK Triarch Rathai fight, it's very, you know exactly what to do, but it is still cool that the way it plays out. Overall,
Yeah, it was stressful but good.
yeah, the dungeon though, I would say the part after Hatclaw's Warband where you have to go from there to Treemouth, I never felt like I understood where the fuck I was going anytime I did that. I never understood the route. I was just kind of walking and fighting enemies until, oh, there's Treemouth.
Yeah, I liked how on Rathai, the first time we killed him or her.
It's female, I believe.
Anyways, like when everybody starts throwing up and we're like, oh, did we fuck up?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, the stun at the end.
Yeah.
The RP stun.
Yeah, that was kind of like horrifying to think that we had messed up and lost the fight after all. Overall, though, I did like Brackenhide Hollow, besides feeling lost during that one section. Probably the gut shot would be my favorite fight there. Okay, go. You didn't say much. What do you think of it before we talk about the next one?
I'd like the action of actually going through it and picking and choosing which fights you wanted to engage in order to make it further on. Treemouth. Which one was the one
Treemouth had like.
that?
Go ahead.
I think I remember Treemouth.
It's like after you fight those 3 hyenas, then you go through a bunch of gnolls, I guess. Then you fight a bunch of the like plants and shit, and there's the double tree, and then right after that you fight Treemouth, which is just a big fat tree. He'll gulp you, then he puts kind of nasty swirls on the floor. Well, actually, it's
Totems.
ads that spawn, and when you kill the
It's
ads,
ads.
they drop the
Yeah.
swirly crap.
Yeah, I'd say Treemouth then.
Okay, next dungeon, Halls of Infusion.
Fuck Primal Tsunami.
Okay, you can go first for this one. Go.
I
'Cause I
don't-
think this is the one you probably played the most.
Because I liked it all the way until the
Goat's
very
breath.
fucking end. That's why. The very last little end piece, you gotta make it through a little maze of shit.
Do you
Not-
do you not like before you fight the boss when you have to walk down, or is it when you're in the middle of the boss fight that you have to walk?
What
through?
made it so bad was how far you had to walk.
Yeah,
Yes.
I will say that is a problem in that entire dungeon. Is the walkbacks are
Yeah.
brutal.
because
It made no sense to have to walk back from gulping Goliath when you had literally just fought Kajin or Kajin,
Mm-hmm.
however you say it. It made no sense to start you all the way back up there. You just killed a boss.
Yeah, why
Why
not
would you
start
not
there where
spawn
you
in
fight
the
Kajin?
quote unquote throne room or whatever you want to call it for the staging area for the fight? Why don't you spawn there? Other than just a nasty penalty to have. You know what I mean?
No, it's rough, man, for sure. And then I think it didn't happen too often, but I think if you die at Goliath, isn't there kind of a long walk back there too? How far back did it take you?
I think it's all the way back to the
That's
beginning. I feel like
true.
there's
Was
only
it?
2 respawn points: the beginning and gulping Goliath.
Horrible.
No, gulping Goliath was not from the beginning. You would spawn at Watcher Iridius. That's where you would spawn if you died to the gulping Goliath.
Yeah, that's
You remember
still a
'cause you'd have to
long
cross the
fucking
water
walk.
again?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
But you're not wrong. All of the bosses have a really, really punishing walk back if you fail the fight.
Other than that, though, I really like the aesthetic and like the look of the dungeon. I liked all the boss fights really too. It's just it's so punishing, and I spent so much time in that dungeon, man. Like we had a few really bad nights where we were in that dungeon. I think one night we were in there for was it like almost 2 hours?
Yeah.
Was it Go? I know it was me, you,
wasn't
Vindo
Kaijin the
Viper,
one that
Aspen, and you, Donnix? Or
No, I
was it you,
wasn't. I
Golden?
wasn't in that one, but I was watching it. I had swapped out
Quite-
for someone.
We
They
were
screwed
in that
Kaijin.
dungeon forever. We struggled at every
All of them.
boss except for
Yes.
Iridius. I don't think we struggled at Iridius, but every other boss we had some trouble with.
Yeah. Well, I think what we did was that we were barely passing Mythic 0 when we started, right?
Mhm.
And we wanted to jump to +2s. I don't think we spent enough time
In
At
the Mythic
doing the
Zero.
circuit through
Yeah.
Mythic 0
Probably not.
because I really feel like it was it was an eye level issue because once we started getting our gear up, we really started clearing a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Highlights in that dungeon. I liked the stealth mobs. And it's mainly because I was so
Yeah.
stupid and I always run into them and then I'd get stunned forever. So that was
Yeah.
always funny. And then the bosses, I liked all the bosses really. Probably the Gulping Goliath was my favorite one.
Mine too. 100%.
It's
Mine's-
fun like worrying about the toxic and where you're standing at all times.
Mine's probably Kajin. I really like
The
that
glaciers?
one. With the glaciers and needing to figure out like which ones are good, which ones are bad, then trying not to get the good ones blown up and the in and out. And it's a lot of moving and it took a lot of, I mean, the in and out, we would just be like in, out, or whatever. But
Yeah.
like coordinating,
Yeah. Easy
like
for
what
you.
glacier are we going to go behind, or which one do we need to keep up, or
Easy for
I think
everyone
Mr.
except
E
for
said,
Go.
Mr. E said, you put your Death Knight
Yep.
in, you take
Yeah.
your Death Knight out.
So good. Yeah, that was really
I mean,
funny.
Death Knights are a little pudgy, a little slow around the midsection. You know what I'm saying? It'd be all right.
Yeah. And
And
it was also
that
cool
dead weight.
how, like, even if you found a good glacier, you also had to worry about its proximity to the bad ones because they'd have that
Mhm.
AoE around them. So there was a
Yeah.
few times we had a good glacier, but it was actually surrounded by bad ones.
And I appreciate the primal tsunami, but I felt like it was a kind of just standard, stay out of the shit type fight with a intermission of run through this bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I could have
like,
done without that as well.
Yeah, like I appreciate what they're trying to do, but it's also probably my least favorite boss out of all the dungeons.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done something to make that part a little more exciting or something because it didn't really feel super challenging. It more felt like it was just wasting your time.
Yeah.
And then having to kill the little guys at the end, which I get like supposed to add some pressure to doing it quickly. But okay, so now we'll
Now.
talk about Neltharus. What did everybody think about Neltharus? I'm just going to go ahead and say it right
Honestly,
now that it's my favorite one.
yes,
I was going to save it for the
was
end,
best
but I
dungeon.
can't talk about it without saying this is my favorite dungeon by far.
It's the best one, and I don't know if we have time to go through every single one, but hands down, best dungeon.
Oh, yeah. So, yes, Neltharus, favorite dungeon. I really like the aesthetic. I really liked how you kind of had a choice in which direction, if you want to go left or right when you're starting it, because you're still going to have to come back to the middle to go fight the final boss. I like that you could use those chains to kind of like
Yeah.
stun the mobs all together to help out with your pools.
That was huge.
Great dungeon.
That was huge.
What did you guys think of this dungeon before we talk about the bosses?
Basically what you were saying.
Aesthetic was super awesome.
Yeah. This probably my favorite as well. I mean, when you're playing WoW, like your dungeons kind of start looking the same, especially with like the indoor dungeons. But they made this look unique enough, and kind of with the scaling, because everybody's kind of bigger than us.
Yeah.
They made it look pretty unique compared to like any other castle type dungeon that we usually go into.
Yeah. And then it also had like that kind of level of verticality to it, to where you're going upstairs, you're jumping down off ledges. I guess we'll talk about these bosses before we wrap it up. Kargath, Bane of Scales. We did get spanked by this guy a good bit, right?
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
So he had that mechanic where he kind of throws chains onto the DPS. Like 3 DPS is what he aims for, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the DPS.
So he
Yep.
throws his chains on the DPS, and then they want to use the chains to trip him, basically, which will stun him, and then I think he takes more damage and all that. But until he's stunned, he's putting out a shitload of damage on everybody. And also, each time one of the chains is used to gets broken and trip him, it also applies like a pretty nasty dot, like a 4-second dot. I think it did get nerfed to like 2 seconds later on. But yeah, it was pretty rough. Before we were kind of just slamming all those chains at once, and we were not prepared for the amount of damage.
Yeah.
But once we kind of figured out to stagger it, it helped.
Yes. Also, to use the last chain to stun him. Remember, because he would start doing slag eruption or fiery focus, might have been what it was.
Mhm.
I can't remember the name of it, but once he got to 100%, he would jump onto the tank, right? And then magma pools would pop up on the ground. And if you use that last chain before he started that, once he got up off the ground, he'd go into that attack. Whereas if you waited for him to start it and then you staggered him or stunned him with the last chain, it basically nullified that whole attack. And that
Yeah.
was really awesome too.
Oh yeah,
Big
so
Cat
that
doesn't
was
agree.
a fun fight.
The cat agrees.
My papa.
What do you think about that fight, Gavin?
That one in particular
Mhm.
is okay.
I have no strong opinions one way or the other.
really, where I stand is the Magnatusk.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah, I did
Magnatusk?
not like
Yeah.
that at all.
what was it about him that you didn't like?
If you didn't do everything to the exact point, just his damage just kept on multiplying higher and higher. So you had to stay on point with that one in order to actually knock him down, which most of the time I was already down. So just to clarify that.
The waves,
Yeah.
definitely. The waves, if you don't place them right after every charge in the direction and your positioning with the waves, that definitely hurt us a good bit.
Yeah, positioning is hard on that one because usually for most of his attacks, he actually wants to stop moving and he doesn't want to come chase after me. So he'll stop where he is, probably in a fucking magma pool, to where he's like, I think he gets a big defensive and offensive buff when he's standing in it. And then depending on where everybody's standing, he's going to run after someone, place more pools. And if it's in a bad spot, he's going to run like across the entire room
Mm-hmm.
or, God forbid, down one of those hallways. And yeah, he just keeps getting stronger throughout. And it's more like if you can kind of keep him contained in such a way to where not getting magma everywhere and not running away too far, it's hard to execute, but it's a fun fight for sure.
Yeah, you definitely lose a lot of uptime on
For
DPS
sure.
if he goes really far away, and now you're chasing, you're avoiding waves, you're probably taking increased damage now, and then you might have to go through the lava circles, lava pools on the ground as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely had some challenges.
Oh yeah. And I definitely lost damage on him just because I'd have to go away from the pools just to get him to hopefully come towards me. Forge Master Goric.
This one was probably my least favorite, just and not because it was hard, but because it's not that interesting of a fight to me.
Yeah. I'd say this is probably the most boring boss in this dungeon. And getting up to him is also a little bit of a pain in the ass. And because of the layout of that boss room, sometimes you're pulling mobs that you didn't want to fight. I know that happened quite a bit with either Hunter's Pets or even my fucking shield a couple times. We'll grab somebody that's up on the walkway or something, and looks like we've got some more trouble in this fight than we wanted, or we end up killing the entire room when we didn't need to.
From a healing perspective, I didn't like that fight because most of the fight is a lot of movement, and on top of that, he would always go back to the anvil, right? So you had to go to the anvil, but then it forced you down the stairs so you could drop the pools, right, on the ground. And the issue was that because of the stairs and the verticality, it would break line of sight. So if somebody was really hurting and they went on the opposite side of the staircase from me, I literally couldn't heal them.
Yeah.
And if they're not paying attention to that positioning, or I'm not either, you know what I mean? So like it would cause some issues as far as that. So like placement, positioning was really important, especially right after.
Yeah, and then with the stairs and even the anvil, like it just kind of you have to hope nobody's going to run off in the wrong direction. And then the last one is Warlord Sarga, which I don't think we ever had a hard time fighting Warlord Sarga.
No.
Not really a hard fight. Probably the most difficult part was when we first learned about that little skip there at the end. Is trying to do the little skip so you can go past that. I don't remember the name of those mobs, but there's some little mobs there right before you fight Sarga in the middle of the hallway there. And we kind of would go to the right and kind of center ourselves on the fire pit there, or the fire. And then you kind of walk a straight line and jump over like a bag of gold or something. Then you can kind of skip those mobs and then go straight to the boss fight. I would say probably Chargath, the Bane of Scales, is my favorite boss fight in that dungeon. Then Magma Tusk, then Sarga, then Goric.
Yeah, I agree.
Magma's probably my favorite in that one.
You like Magma the best? But you go. Yeah, tell me your favorite. And you already said you don't like Magma Tusk.
I don't like the Magma Tusk. That one kind of irked me a little bit.
I feel like you judge the fights based off of not their design, but just how much trouble they gave you.
Well, not really much trouble other than being a fat, Death Knight. The end boss was at the gold room.
Sarga, where
Sarga.
You gotta like grab the gold.
Because you could actually
trinkets.
grab a different tool and utilize it.
Yeah, that was a fun little mechanic, like grabbing that. I kind of wish you had to use it a little bit more than just during the bubble. I feel like that would have made it a little bit more frantic, maybe a little bit more exciting, because none of her other abilities really felt super threatening. So we'll cover the rest of the Dragonflight Dungeons in next week's podcast. Sound good, everybody?
Yep.
Did you hear that, mystery? Okay.
So that's the podcast, everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe to join the Mythic Mafia. Find us on YouTube and Twitch for live streams Fridays or Saturdays. We have TikTok, IG, and Facebook. We play on the Muradin Realm for the Alliance. and Illidan for the Horde. Join the community Discord to chat WoW, whether you're a new Black Dust or a seasoned vet. We're accepting of all levels and factions. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next week.